Shriram Capital Limited. Mr. Durga Prasad Swaminathan, CIO, Cholamandalam Investment and Finance Company Limited. And Mr. Mahesh Trivedi, Executive Vice President, NTT Global Data Centers, India Limited. Over to you, Mr. Sreejith.
Thank you. So thank you, and it's a pleasure being here today with a wonderful crowd. So I think this hall is not enough to accommodate the crowd, and I can see a lot of people standing and a lot of people outside, and that excites us for this kind of discussions. And we're also fortunate to have this kind of wonderful audience, the veterans in the industry. If you can see, we have the diversity of people coming from the customer side. Sendil sir is available. Then Syed sir from the developer side, and Mahesh, and of course me from the service provider. So the topic for today, so we thank W.Media for selecting this wonderful topic. The hyperscalers, they're recharting their decision and repositioning their footprint or strategy in India. And hyperscalers, as all of us are aware, that they have been doing the data center setup and building up on a massive scale for the last 10 odd years. And of course, now they see the big challenge in the scalability. So when they are thinking about their rechartering their decisions and strategizing their positioning in India, the scalability is the big question mark, and the challenges in India with respect to construction and the operational aspects, right? So that brings us W.Media to have this topic in today's CDC, and have this panelist for the discussion. So we have customers, developer, and service provider. So I think will excite us, and I request audience to be part of the discussion, because we may discuss, but unless you contribute with your own perspectives, or you have any questions, or you have any perspective, so you're always welcome. So you can either keep your questions at the end of the sessions, and you're also welcome to interrupt any of us during any discussion, which will definitely excite us, and I promise on behalf of the panelists that we'll address your questions as well. So with that, we'll start. So, I think the first question, being a customer to Sendil sir, I cannot see any other person as a customer in this panel, because you have been a massive experience in data center for the last 15 plus to 20 years. And you have seen the data center evolution and the cycle from the scratch. So starting from a normal, in-house developed data center, and move to a co-location data center and tie-up and partnership, then adopting cloud aspects. And cloud, I think you are a user for all the flavors of public, private, hybrid, and now you have a multi strategy of in-house, co-location, and the cloud aspects. And of course, the business is also kind of growing, and you are positioned and a big contributor in the BFSI segment. And in India, after hyperscalers, BFSI is still the contributor. So to me, for the service providers, now again, when we talk about hyperscalers rechartering their decisions, and they're also started building their own data centers, co-location space, and the kind of business share is going to go down. And again, like 10 years back, BFSI is going to be the contributor again for the data center co-location for sure. I think for next 10 years for sure. So with that, let me ask you a question, sir. You have been seeing this evolution. So what was your challenge in the previous decade or last 20 years? And what do you foresee for the next 10 years? And what is the business demand coming in? And how fast, you are a CTO of the organization, how is the business pressure when it comes to provisioning or make the requirements operationalize? So I think you have a pressure on that aspect. So how do you manage that? That is one. And second, you cannot do it alone. So what is your expectation from us as a service providers or a developer, and again, when sites are the kind of massive developing, today they is developing data centers and data center campuses, right? So when they do that, what is the ask to us, and how do you manage the challenge first, and second, the demand to us?
இனிய காலை வணக்கம் and really warm welcome. I can tell warm because Chennai is very warm now. Very apt to tell here. Sreejith spoke in such a way that he covered all the points. I don't know what am I to speak. I'm Sendil Kumar from Shriram Capital. So Shriram Capital is a leading financial arm. And being Shriram Capital, we are into finance, insurance, housing, mutual fund. Other than bank, we are across all the space of the financial sector. So why I'm insisting is that here the data plays a major role. Storing the data, that is business continuity, business availability. The data availability should be proper. So not even 1 second of time we should not lose it, and not even one entry in any of this should not get lost. Some 10 years before, not even 10, beyond that, having a data center on-prem, we feel that it's a very prestigious moment. I have a data center, a very big data center, and I have disaster recovery. You see that how it is, and all. I have made in such a thing. When anyone comes to our organization, we will take them to visit the data center. So this is our data center. We have rack servers, we have blade servers, we have cooling environment. Everything went reverse from 2014 when Chennai faced flood, and subsequent year there was a cyclone. So many data centers who were handling on their own faced a trouble. We were having a very huge data center where we were managing it. Everything was perfect. We have a very good power, we have a generator, everything was good, but there was no proper connectivity. Connectivity, we have 4 or 5 ISPs, everything went down. Then with difficulty, we tried to move our disaster recovery site. Then we understood that one day it could run because it was not an identical setup. We were thinking that, okay, Chennai, what will happen in Chennai? Nothing. Only few minutes or few hours. So in the time we will manage it, and again we will bring back. But that made us think that this is not our business. Why, when there are expertise who are in that, why we should get involved in managing the connectivity part and also managing the business continuity part? Why these things? Business also never asked. It is we IT heads, we wanted to take that as a pride, and also we wanted to ensure that the data is with us, as if the data, if it goes out, someone will take. It is not that. It is purely a mindset and the perception. Then after that, thanks to many cloud operators, we could do a strong BCP. In Mumbai we have, and we have a few things in Delhi, and we have now a strong data center in Chennai. So now we are not at all worried about that on the business continuity. Only thing we have made is that we have automated all those things. So now the different role is what, once we moved there, we got different role to do that. The infrastructure is being managed, and we handle in such a way that the proper connectivity where it is there in the data center. For the data center guys, they know that what type of connectivity is needed, how is the business continuity has to be there, and how they can provision the servers, racks, all those things, space, everything they are giving it. Now we are doing in such a way that one level we are gone with the co-location, we have a strong BCP in place, and third we went with cloud also. So in that scenario, now I have a test environment which is there in on-prem, which is my own data center. Next, I have a co-located data center with all leading data center providers. And third, I have on the cloud. Now I have 3 layers. One is on the public cloud, second is on the co-located data center, and third is on my prem. Now, all these connections, which we are making it, and we are ensuring that finally the business is not getting affected because of technology. It should complement, and we are complementing. That's
But
what.
sir, but how about, your view the next decade? So what kind of expectation you have on the scalability? So, the scalability now, the past is past, right?
Correct,
So
correct.
2014, you very well said, I remember, because we meet customers and it's very hard to convince them that to move from the on-premises to core data centers. It was more than 70% that time on-premises data center, and now it's drastically changing. So that's good. So in the scalability part, what is your expectation?
See,
Before I come to Mahesh, sir.
yeah, see, data growth is phenomenal. I feel that year on year, whatever we provision it, it is not getting sufficient. We think that, okay, this storage or this server or this network will be sufficient for next 1 year or next 2 years. See, we can't even now give a vision that, okay, next 3 years, this is what. I can't even plan now. The next 3 months, the business is getting changed and they are getting lot of
So let me put it this way,
areas.
sir. It is there, but it is uncertain on the positive side.
The thing is that, yes, it's on the positive side. It is good from the business side. From our side, what we have to do is that we have to ensure that the scalability is proper.
Sir, that is a challenge for us. Okay, so let me come back to Syed, sir, later. Now, let me take a liberty of asking you two questions, okay? On behalf of data center colocation plus cloud infrastructure, right? You may not be agreeing with me, but now, how do we take this challenge? Because this is a customer. He told us very clearly, the requirement is uncertain, but in the positive side. And he doesn't know, because the current capacity, whatever he has, he has all the flowers, on-premises, co-location, cloud, all the aspects, but the current maybe for next 1 year, or next to max 2 years, right? But we cannot take it that way, no? We cannot just build infrastructure, whether it is co-location or cloud infrastructure. It is very difficult for us to do that. So how do we take care of the scalability? And again, this is one customer, right? And there are n number of customers are lined up to that. On top of that, the cloud players. So it is very massive challenge. If you ask me as a service provider, we are dealing this challenge whenever we design a data center, right? Now, when Mahesh sir has two challenges because he is also a cloud provider. So how do you take this, sir, to design, build, both in terms of co-location plus the cloud architecture?
So thank you, and good morning, everyone. So cloud is probably easy part of it, to be honest, because we do have a strong cloud installation at all our data centers. And we have over the period, kind of evolved a very elastic cloud, what we call, which can be scaled on demand practically on the fly, So cloud, we are very much confident and under control in that sense. The challenge lies in the physical aspect of it when we have a wide range of requirements coming in from the end customers. And with due respect, the enterprises are easier to handle there, because the BFSI, when I say enterprise, it's the BFSI and manufacturing and all those, because their band of demand is probably narrower than what the hyperscalers ask for, right? Hyperscalers are all over the place in terms of their demand, in terms of their timelines, in terms of their, other aspects like SLAs. And so what challenges we have is when a hyperscale, for example, commits that I would want a 5 megawatts delivery in, say, 6 months. And the very next month he comes up that I want it tomorrow now, right? So that's where the challenge is. And while we have some preparations around that for sure, but as you rightly said, we are ultimately a colo provider. So we have to also factor that there could be other customers who come before that guy, This is where the balance we have to strike in our designs and in our approach and in our business strategies everywhere. That how do we, tackle this sudden spurt? And as we all know, the hyperscale demand is not in kilowatts, it's always in megawatts. So there is a definite lead time, and of course in today's world, time is becoming more and more critical. The guy who gives delivery faster wins is what we are seeing right now in the co-location market. So having said that, now that we are at least last decade, we have been handling the major, hyperscalers in India. Probably we are now tuned on their thought process, on their strategies, and we do have some preparation around that. And with all that data points and knowledge, we do factor a lot of, budgets and risks, what we take knowingly that, cloud will, the hyperscalers will demand certainly something on the fly. Just to add there, even the hyperscalers, as I said, they are all over the place in terms of the requirements. One example I can give you is that initially our worry was only on the, kilowatts per rack, right? That if you take care, you are good. Now there are challenges on rack height, rack width, rack weight. There are multiple challenges which were not probably there initially because it was so standardized in that sense. The only variable was the rack density, right? But now these all factors come into play. There are other finer aspects of, the ISTs and testing and, commissioning side, which was again, it was always there with us, right? It was not so well defined or not so rigorous what it is now. So I think this is one of the major changes we have seen with the hyperscalers coming in big time in India. It has done 2-3 things to us as service providers. Definitely it has made us, more agile in that sense. The delivery times are faster in terms of the capacity they demand. Some of it is not necessarily good, but then that's the way the business will be. We have to acknowledge that fact and align towards that, right? And the biggest challenge again is that, the kind of demands they have on the local infra is not always available at the back end. That is where we struggle a bit. As in the morning, somebody said, there are regulatory issues which take away time, which take away, your bandwidth in terms of project deliveries. So these are the other challenges we have. But I think we are good to tackle that with our experience. The only unknown now, which has recently come, it was always an attempt by these hyperscalers to go on their own, right? They always attempted some of the other things by, testing out the waters, as we say, in a small capacity all over India. Until now, they were not coming in a big way, what we are seeing now. Honestly, that doesn't worry us much. We still think that they will always have, outsourcing as an option, only because, they know that the lead time to build and deliver, we can probably match that, what they expect. The second thing is, as a strategy, they may want to go with, colo providers. And third will be always the cost factor, right? I'm sure that somewhere they also do their calculations and come up with the fact that it sometimes makes sense to outsource rather than do a lot of things in source, So yeah, these are the various factors.
I think the key, you touched upon the risk factor, right? So I know you have taken a risk, a positive step of acquiring a large land parcel in Mumbai. So as we take that kind of step to secure the land parcel and the large power capacities across the India, again, last decade it was with the demand. Now currently some with the demand, some without demand. So that is a proactive step, and rightly said by Sendil. So now 2 years. So 2 years is a turnaround time for a 10 megawatt data center to be set up. So when we build this data center, we are sure that more than hyperscalers, though they are building up their own data centers, the next segment is BFS. They may command have more demand on the hyperscalers aspect, right? So that way. So coming back to Syed sir again, it's an honor you to be here. So you're also an honorable chairman for the IGBC Bangalore chapter, and sir, your organization is an established developer for the last 45 to 50 years in India, and you're a veteran in building many landmark building here, and you have been now building this DC buildings and now DC campuses, right? So what do you see as a shift from the normal developing to the data center class building? So what are the things you take care of in the building? And what is your contributor towards the data center communities or the customers? And what is your view on the efficiency aspect? And how do you apply? Of course, the IGBC establishes the guidelines for green. So what is your take on doing this in your own build?
Yeah, good morning, friends. I have two challenges. One is I'm in the midst of a veterans. I'm still in a learning curve. Even though we are into the development front last 42 years, the data center is started only from 2016, thanks to NTT, and thanks to my friend, Mr. Trivedi. And our Sreejith's question also, there is no starter, there is no soup, there is no main course, nothing, all in one. So we have to work on that. Okay. Well, as you mentioned, data center vis-a-vis any other commercial building, there is no match. There's absolutely no match. To tell you only three things. A, for example, the loading factor of this hotel, which is a commercial building, at the max 400 to 450 kg per square meter. Whereas in the data center, it used to be 1200, went to 1500. Now people are talking of 2000 and 2500. Okay. Second, floor to floor height. Normally it is 3 meter. There it starts at 5 meter, goes up to 7 meter. And like that. And the power. You see, the data center, what I know of the data center is like a server room. What we used to do during the IT time. I must tell you in this time, with this August audience, the trailblazer of IT, that was Texas Instrument, when they came in 86, and we were the real estate developer, not a developer, we were the agents, like a broker. So we gave them the space. At that time, there was no OFC connectivity. It was all landing station. And those people came here, they made about 7-8 visits to US and India to get the landing station, to be provided by the government. But our government, great Babus, could not understand what is this software, because they know all about hardware, And finally, they took a decision that they will spend the money for the first earthing station, and they put the earthing station in Bangalore. And it so happened that, the God's scheme of things was such that same time, CDOT was coming through Sam Petroda. So here, the IT requirement, that side is the telecommunication requirement, and that matched excellent. So I'm from those days. When we talk of Cat3 cable, Cat4 cable, that was a big thing. In 1992, when we gave the office premises to IBM, then it was known as TISL, Tata Information System Limited. That is the time people started understanding the design of the IT office. Design of the IT office and modular and all that from those days. Otherwise, there was no modular kind of a thing. In the data center also in 2016, when NTT contacted us, to be honest with you, I was not knowing about this data center at all. To be honest with you, I'm fooling myself now. I was always thinking that the cloud, when the rain comes, what will happen to the data? I was such a confused status. So Mr. Sharad Sanghi said that we want, because they liked our BGRT, Bearys Global Research Triangle, which is India's first lead platinum by both USGBC and IGBC. And they asked us to do the first project. And that project, like a miracle, 12 months we completed the project, with the design, build, deliver, interior, power, and it went live. 12 months, 300,000 square foot. And that is where we got a great deal of traction. Thanks to NTT, we are doing most of their project pan-India, in Bangalore, in Navi Mumbai, in Chennai, and many other places. As such, we have delivered 170 megawatts of power, because data center is measured not by virtue of millions of square foot, it is all megawatts of power. And nearly 200 megawatts of power is under construction. We also got the great opportunity of building Microsoft's first data center in India, that is in Hyderabad. It's an amazing experience for us, and I must tell you, the kind of learning what we have in Microsoft Hyderabad, this is truly, out of the world. The QHSE, the quality, the health, and the environment and safety we must follow that. I'm appealing to all the developer and service provider and operator to reach to that standard. And if we reach to that standard, that is the day India will truly become the greatest country in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the passion. right? And we understand the passion and enthusiasm, and that is the reason where, thanks to Mahesh and Sharath to bring you into data center. So it's a compliment to the data center industry, and more partners will come to you and your building. So before going to next round, let me have a quick check with the audience. Do you have any interim questions to any of the panels? There's one. Oh, there are few hands. If you can just give a mic, it'll be great. I think first question raised from there. Oh, okay, we can start from there. The mic is here. All right, sir.
Thank you very much. We've been talking about on the project side, technology side, and also power side. There's something called the talent required by this industry. Since Beary sir is also into education in multiple sectors, what is that is happening towards creation of talent required by this industry in the next 3 to 5 years? If all these data centers come up, are we going to be at par? Are we going to be deficient in terms of supply of manpower?
No, it's a great question, sir, because the skill deficiency is going to be the real challenge in the data center industry, both in design, build, and operate. So we are talking to entity and some other operators to establish a data center, what do you call, crash courses, like 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, certified courses for the engineers, and the diploma holders. And otherwise, believe me, it's going to be a real challenge. Otherwise, what happens here, face is the same, cards are different. Every second month, you will find the same face, and then we'll say, hey, how are you, man? How is STT? No, sir, I'm not in STT. I'm in, So that is the real problem we are going to face. So skill development on the front of, and that is where, Mr. Trivedi is also going to help us. We are working on that, from the education front. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Just to elaborate, sir, you have kind of, stepped on my toe, because this is a very painful topic for us right now. It's not coming, it's already there, sir. If you look at some of the growth projections all of us are having, all of us when I say the data center operators, the kind of capacities we are planning to roll out, the kind of investments we are getting globally, it's huge. But really, do we have the people to carry out and actually deliver those is a big question mark today. And as Beary sir rightly pointed out, and we all know that hyperscalers are demanding in that sense, in terms of quality, safety, operational excellence, efficiency, everything. So do we have a formal study course for, the operators to do that? See, mind you, sir, data centers are built for 20 years to last. So you need to develop a huge talent pool to make it happen for data centers. And as they age, you will have natural aging processes as with every other thing in life. The equipment age, the efficiencies go down, so and you need to upgrade, refresh, whatnot. So it's a very, 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 very important question for us now. And believe me, as Beary said, we are trying to do whatever we can to set up some kind of a, and believe me, we are talking to various governments, to various technical schools, and we are trying to build some kind of a training program where we can educate the youth to the basics of data center, and then hopefully we'll have a good talent pool, coming down the line. And frankly, I'm not just making a statement, it's a very holistic approach we are taking here. We are not concerned whether after taking the course they will join us or not. We don't really care, to be honest. Let them contribute to the industry is our ask here, right? Because in spite of all our competition in the business field, we all know as data center operators that there is so much to be done and so much of a business to be had that we will never compete. We'll each have enough of our plates. That's the opportunity we see in the data center market. So that's where we are aiming for, sir.
Right, sir. Let me, it's a wonderful question again. So let me take a liberty to add what STT is doing this. So I think we are one step ahead there. And we already, in a kind of sensed the resource scarcity for the data center community in India or in abroad. So what we have done, and after the STT, Tata acquisition, we have a first greenfield site we developed in Bangalore, which is in Whitefield. So all of you are welcome to STT Bangalore, Whitefield, whenever you are there. And part of that greenfield data center, we also set up a center of excellence center there. So what does it mean is that we have created a model data center where all these data center aspects are kind of tested. So we have created a data center power setup, UPS, PACs, PAHUs, BMS, fire alarm, whatever system is there, which is explicitly from the production setup, right? This is predominantly for the testing and learning and development. And then part of our CSR, we also have tied up with a few colleges, predominantly with the Don Bosco's, NTT kind of colleges, and their diploma and BE kind of this thing. We have developed a curriculum called data center operations, right? And the part of their course, and we go and deliver the sessions to the colleges, and we invite at least 2 times into our campus, and we make them all the accommodations, everything from our side. We develop them, right? And definitely from this community, we don't directly hire. This is available for the industry, right? So this, the third batch is already out last year, and the fourth batch is running. So this is one step we have done. And we are also into now campus hiring. The campus hire, about 30 old graduate engineering trainees are joining from July. So there's few steps as an STT, as an organization, we are doing. So thought of just complementing it. Thank you. So go to that gentleman.
Yeah. Sir, good morning. My
Question
name is
two?
Perma.
Your question too? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, my question to Mr. Syed, IGBC team. And sir, what is the main basic criteria we have to construct a green data center, like selection of equipments? And nowadays we are seeing this, the air-cooled, the water-cooled chillers are completely phased out for the new construction of the data centers. But if you see, the ample of water available in Chennai, and this water is not a clean water, it may be a sewage water, and it is treated and ready for usage. And why don't we use that water? And using these water-cooled chillers, when you compare with the water-cooled chillers and air-cooled chillers, there is a 25% of efficiency which is giving. But what is the basic criteria we have, like this waste management and all those things?
Yeah, last week I was in Singapore. So you're talking about the water using for the chillers, right?
Yeah,
There
chiller.
I don't know whether what I'm drinking there. You know, what late Morarji Desai was emphasizing on that, you see. We really don't know. Having said, see, data center, our play is not into the equipment and etc. much. That is where the, Mr. Trivedi kind of people, they have to take care. We are starting from the plot selection. You know, it is not like any other plot. Data center to build, it should have a certain prerequisite. You know, we should have 100 years of, flood certification. That last 100 years, there was no flood. You know, it should not be it should be in an elevated space. It should not be near the main road. You know, it should not be near the flyover and the, and the railway track or the, funnel of, airport, and not near the, gas station, and residential apartment. So a lot of that aspect is there. Number two, we always prefer to go in for a corner property so that we can get a multiple level of OFC connectivity. That is second. Third, most important in India, pan-India, is the power. Because the power requirement for data center is not like any other industry. I mean, to bring into the perspective for your understanding, entity is building one data center in Mumbai where the envisaged power was 400 megawatts. Now, what is 400 megawatts? For the entire Mumbai city, the required power is 350 to 380 megawatts. Entire Mumbai city, okay? And that is, more than that, is in one data center park. That is a power. That is a power. To be honest with you, when they talk of sustainability, heart of heart, I laugh at myself. It is what sustainability we can bring in at this level, So the power requirement is also equally important. And that mere power will not work. It should be a dual power. And the dual power, it should be back to back. It is not starting from, for example, A is a main substation. From there you make a, you divide into two. And one side you get a B1 and B2. That they will not accept. There should be A line, there should be a B line, generated separately. That is where Navi Mumbai is, scoring much higher mark than any other city in India. Because there are 6 national grids are running in Navi Mumbai. You know, that's the advantage. And regarding the building design, you see, I told you about the loading factor and the height factor and etc. See, the design and sanction and approval, normally it takes about a year, year and a half. The big guns, they will take even 2 to 3 years time. And all that, finally, they'll put onto our head. When they come to us, they want everything yesterday. There is no tomorrow. You know, they start with the 24 months, then they reduce it to 18 months, then the 15 months, then they said, no, sir, in 12 months. I said, boss, at least 9 months is required to produce a good child. You know, and that 9 months, you can reduce it to 7 or 8 months. If it is less than 7 months, then the child will not be, good enough, right? So this is where our issue is. But the real challenging thing, and we're really enjoying, again, I'm telling you, especially the Microsoft site in Hyderabad, that is a great learning for us. It's like a paradigm shift, so that is what we do. Thank you.
I think you're also, touching upon the scalability aspect, right? I think we'll take one more question from the gentleman.
Good morning, my name is Nitin. So my question is to Mr. Mahesh. So you touched upon, hyperscalers asking for capacities in megawatts, and sometimes they want it like tomorrow. Now my question, what Mr. Syed was also referring to with regard to the power. So we know, the governments, they have a lot of policies right now to support data centers, but when it comes to real situation, when we have to go for power capacities, the practical experiences takes about 6 to 10 months to scale up power. So how do we manage that scalability, with the kind of demand that is coming up? And sometimes it is not fixed that, you have to prepone some capacities. So that is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what, I told in the beginning that we have now over the period realized how these guys think and how they strategize, right? So we are making some investments, taking some advanced forward calls, as we say. And of course, there is always a risk of it not coming out, right? So just to share with you, nowadays, thanks to the hyperscalers, we are setting up 220 kV substations in all our campuses. So that is kind of a very futuristic design, what I would say, right? So it can scale up to 200. And when Beary sir mentioned about the 400 megawatt campus, we are having 2 into 220 substations there, right? So this is the kind of investments and forward planning we are doing right now. In fact, later on that campus will migrate to a 400 kV national grid line, right? So these are the kind of plans we are making right now, looking at the ask and demand of the hyperscalers. We need to be always ahead of their demands, kind of predict where they will go next. And that's how we are able to cope up. To the second part of it, in certain areas, in spite of our best efforts, there is a genuine scarcity of power. Personally, what I have found is that generally the generation or the capacity at the back end is there, but at least in some of the cities, the transmission is too old. They cannot carry the load anymore. And that is where, our challenge lies. And that's where, as somebody was mentioning in the morning session, we have to invest on our own to bring the supplies to our end, because that is faster. It does cost us a bomb, to be honest. But that's the business we are in. So that's how we kind of, factor and hedge that challenge.
I think it's again a proactive risk aspect and investment. I think we are on the same space. We do the same thing. You rightly mentioned the kind of investment we do in the conductor side, conductor upgrade, or the last mile cabling. We spend in hundreds and 500s of crores, which is a massive capex. We do that, but that is the way forward, right? Thank you, sir, and thank you for the wonderful question, sir. We're running short of time, so just wanted to ask a question to Sendil, sir. Now, you heard from the developer side and the service provider side. I just wanted to ask you, are you still concerned about the security aspect, physical as well as, I'll give you this mic, physical as well as, logical securities? And when you talk about scalability, more than anybody in the BFSI segment, still I think security is a talk point. And number one, the security is a concern for you, understand. And then you already touched upon the BCP. We already had a 2014. From there onwards, we have many initiatives happened on the BCP side. So, and again, we had the pandemic. We all undergone for last, the COVID period for 2 years. So how are you looking at it? When you look at the scalability, and on premises is very limited and going mostly the outside, right? So how do you see security is a concern for the organization, or it is managed, or do you have some thought point or some advices to the other communities like cloud providers and us?
Yeah. So we come from the BFSI, and definitely data plays a major role on securing it. So we have a lot of regulatory bodies like IRDA, RBI, SEBI, all they give regular updates on the data security part. So two type of securities are there. One is on the physical and the other one is on the data. So nowadays when we tell about the data is hosted, so they ensure that what physical security a data center has it. Like from the person who comes in and where is the exit, or all the quite normal things earlier it was having. Now they are going in and checking in such a way that they are going inside the UPS room, they are understanding what is the availability which you have it. Example, like we are going to tie up with NPCA, UIDA, everywhere when they are there, first they are seeing on their visiting the data center. They are seeing the design. They are sitting with the persons, understanding how the design is, how the architecture and all, they are asking about that. And they are asking about what type of controls which you have it, especially during the fire alarming system, and what are the exit mechanisms. So plenty of things on the security, which is on the physical. And coming back to on the data security, definitely the BCP plays a major role. Again, here the data center design plays a role, where in such a way that connectivity part. So the data center should have a connectivity in multiple forms. One is through Wi-Fi, giving them the provision. Second is through the fiber channels, through multiple ports or through multiple areas they have to bring it. And third is on the power needs. It can't be confined for a certain needs, like this is the need which has to be designed, and when it is increasing, we are facing the problem on power needs. They're telling that this particular rack you can't have it. So change the rack means again it is a big problem for us to do it. And again we have to do that. And the systems which nowadays which we are getting are all on the higher processor, like 32 cores, 64 core process. So the power also is more. So when the designing of the racks or designing of the structure itself plays a major role for us. Since we are unable to do, we rely on the data center, and if they design it, we could clearly understand that 15 years data center and now the current data center, there is a huge difference on designing part. Especially now, if we customers going there are not cloud, the data centers are not worried because they have huge orders from the cloud operators coming in. And we directly going, we indirectly going also there.
That is not going to be the case for next 5 to 6 years because they are started building their own, right?
So I would just like to, take one point here. As per our definition, DR and BCP are two very distinct activities for us. DR is reaction to a particular event, is how we define it. BCP is the broad corporate level business continuity plan we have.
Irrespective of data.
And
BCP.
that covers each and every aspect of our entire operation, including the transport, the people, the fiber, the network, whatnot. DR, as I said, is very specific to an event and how you recover and how fast you recover. BCP is the strategy you have to kind of, first of all, prevent an event happening and then recovery, both.
Yeah, both RTO, RPO for our angle, it is very,
and
very
on the physical, I think I can, safely say that Indian data centers have matured over the years. I think physically, physical security is probably all there in all the data centers in India at least.
When you talk about BCP, the pre-pandemic, it was the, RPO, RTO was the common point for BCP. But this pandemic changed the entire thing. So Mahesh said they have to have a framework, right? Post-pandemic, even our organization, we moved the organizational strategy. We developed a BCMS framework, and we are now moving into, ISO 22301 certification kind of thing. I'm sure I heard, and the kind of passion, because I am associated with you for the last, whatever, experience you have as the same, I learned with you over the 15 years. And the customers coming and sitting with us, and now it's reality. So we, especially the hyperscalers, they are too much. But from the BFSI side, there were not. But for the last 5 years, we could see people like Sendil. His not core expertise is not into technology. His core expertise is something. His core KRA is something else. This is not at all his KRA, but he's investing his time and energy to come and discuss and contribute to the design aspects, which is definitely contributing. Whatever he said, the shift or the improvement which he's seeing over the period in all the data center providers, because of the involvement from the customers like him and his contribution. So no doubt about that. You would like to add, sir?
Well, even though I'm a developer, but I'm involved in, through and through. So there is a checklist in the client's front. They come with a checklist. Okay, in that checklist, there are generally about 100 and odd items are there. Now, initial days when the operators are going through the checklist, and when I saw that, he said that, sir, out of 103, 97 is already ticked, only 6 are balanced. So I said, then it should not be a checklist, it should be a tick list. In a checklist, essentially means something should not be answered. That is a real checklist. But the end user, they insist that every checklist should be tick mark. So it is truly a tick list.
So that is the perfection we are talking about, right? So thank you so much. Is there any more questions from the audience? Yeah.
My name is Ganesh, and I'm from Life Science. And we have a major problem when it comes to the computation, like you're talking about questions to Mahesh, and scalability. So, the pandemic is, we had a very bad experience, like it's a blessing and disgrace too. So it taught us very major things in the life science as well as the healthcare. So we actually deal with the patients. So our solution is purely on a patient-centric. So patients means like genomic data. So we believe on the genomic data. We're trying to cure variants of the human body. So in the case, it needs a lot of computational power in terms of petaflops. So because one human being data is about 250 GB day. So it's called whole genome data. So when you sequence a human being data, it becomes 250 GB. So imagine right now it's about 140 crores populations. So it's very huge. Okay, will the data centers, current setup of the data centers cater to the needs of process, okay, in terms of flops, teraflops and petaflops, okay, so that like maybe people like us make use of it. Right now we have greatly depending on kind of cloud systems where especially some chipsets is designed to us like Dragon chipsets because those actually gives us the powers to compute in a few minutes to get the data because the demand is like that to process the human data and provide the right clinical solutions to the patient to cure his disease.
So to let you know that we do have a couple of customers who have this huge churning of data. One is a pharmaceutical company who is doing a lot of R&D. The other one is a geological survey which does oil and gas exploration. So you can understand the kind of compute power they need when they're churning all those numbers, So we do have a couple of cases live in our data centers. The racks are totally populated without any gap. All the servers are stacked. And when they fire up what we call, the entire setup, it's kind of, you can't even enter inside. It's like a generator running there, right? I'm sure you know that. And of course, that's the peak we can ever envisage in terms of the power and, heat cooling requirement. So if you have a specific setup you would like, to help us, we can do that for you because we do have similar instances already running in our data centers.
To add to that, sir, it was a wonderful, again, a question from a healthcare section because healthcare and education, there are two segments which are emerging into IT, right? Of course, education segment is kind of not as critical as healthcare. But healthcare, because I was part of few of the, the data center setup, especially with one of the large insurance companies and the healthcare segment. The requirement is so huge, and the consultation for the critical illness, so it was huge, and the surgeries were taken place or the remote monitoring and over the cloud, and the accuracy and precision and the reliability of network and the availability is very, very important. So I'm sure, the kind of requirement coming from the healthcare IT and the requirements are very, very stringent. As Beary sir mentioned about the checklist some time back, this is kind of extensive checklist. If you're not able to meet, then my view, don't do the business with healthcare. So if you are committed to the healthcare business, that means you have to be fully committed. You have to ensure, because when there is a surgery happens, we cannot have a situation where by any chance, be it cloud, be it network, be it collocation, be it any arm can fail, right? So you have to have that kind of assurity of availability. There is no 99.x. That is the reason we are all redefined. And again, rechartering we're talking about. See, the uptime definition is 100%. There is nothing less than 100%, right? So the 99.x, etc. is passed. So any kind of uptime, be it logical uptime, physical uptime, it is 100%. Do you agree? So, and we are signing agreements. Not only you're talking, we are signing physical agreement with customers like you, and we are obliging to that, right? So that is the way the industry is evolving up. Thank you. Any other questions? You have mic?
My question is to Sendil Kumar, sir. Hello, sir. Yeah, so you were saying about the 3 layers of architecture that you have, right? On-prem, and then co-location, and then the cloud. So my question is, what is the need of that co-location? Right? On-prem, I can understand that you have some testing to be done on on-prem. But what is the purpose of having the co-location? Why can't you directly go to cloud itself? Because anyway, cloud provides all the services. And that's my first question. And I just wanted to know, out of the curiosity, I'm asking this question. Is there any, how much cost cutting you can do when you go from co-location to cloud?
Okay. See, as I was telling the 3 layers, the why co-location is what you are asking, right?
Yes, yes.
So the reason is that ours is a traditional and also the thing where lock, stock, barrel to cloud. And second is that we don't want to move everything on cloud because the data we wanted to have in on-prem, so that we can handle, because data is exploiting like anything, and we don't want everything to push on cloud. What is our plan is that the app will be on the cloud, the data that's on the public cloud, so the data will be on-prem. Okay. On-prem in the sense like co-located server. In this scenario, now the connectivity, everything are so great, so easily when a person is accessing my application, the application will be on cloud. And second, you may ask, why then on cloud also? The cloud, the reason for us to have is that, number one, there are a lot of applications available on cloud, so that my API can integrate easily with all my applications. Okay. Where here, if it is co-located, each and everything I have to do that. Okay. So I will use my app there, and I will have my entire data with me, so that it will be easy for me to handle it. And because we, a 50 years old company, we don't want to shift everything. Okay. And on-premise, that is in-house, is that it is purely on the testing environment. Okay. So the going forward itself, we are focusing only as a hybrid environment.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Let me have a quick check. How many more time we have? Okay, so let me have a...
I have 2 questions here. One is, I need some insight on what is our readiness towards inter-DC connectivity in India. What is the contingency? Who are the niche players? Are we ready with inter-DC connectivity among the metros? How robust we are? Okay, one. Second is, when coming to power, right? So we are competing with electrical vehicle versus data centers. Which is the priority for the Indian government? Whether it is electrical vehicle or data centers? How our Indian government is going to cater this? What are the plans for it?
So I'll take the second one first. With my limited knowledge, and I stand corrected if I'm wrong, I think EV phase will not come in a big way to India. We will kind of leapfrog it and go to hydrogen. This is my statement today. I don't know how true it will turn out in the future. I think we will leapfrog the EV phase. It will not hit us in a big way as it is doing probably abroad. You are right. It needs a huge back-end infra. It needs huge raw materials, which we probably are not ready yet. And my firm belief is we'll leapfrog. We'll not go to the EV in a big way. We'll go to hydrogen. That's today. Your first question was regarding inter-DC. So when you say inter-DC, it's more on the network, right? Right. So luckily, in metros, we are quite okay, I would say. In that sense, we have what we call 3 clusters of data centers, 3 campuses, each one about 150 odd megawatts in Mumbai itself. And they are very nicely connected through multiple fiber routes, multiple service providers, So that's very good in metros. Cross-state and, across the country and all, well, we have good and bad experiences, so probably that's a bit open-ended. But just to share with you what the India government is doing connecting huge, laying huge fiber networks across country, including what we call tier 2 and tier 3 cities. That is a major project undertaken by the government of India. I don't know many of you are aware, but that's a big project going on right now. And very soon we should not have that challenge anymore on the network side is what we believe here. Yeah. That will push the edge in a big way also is what we feel. And that would be, a big win for India in that sense, big technological leap. Thankfully, the government is well aligned towards that goal.
Yes, this is Dr. Bhakya Lakshmi from SRM University. So, as a researchers as well as people who we focus on academic thing, I would like to ask you this question: how to fill the gap between the industry and academic, like for our students, to make sure students are aware of this particular fast-forward developments to our moderator? Because you are talking about the course you are implemented to the in Bangalore for some institution. So, can I get that knowledge too?
So thank you for that. But again, first and foremost, please don't feel a gap about it. There's no gap.
But academicians, as we...
My request to you is that, so as I told you, we are, as a company, STT, we have already set up the Center of Excellence and we have developed a curriculum and we've already started training to some of the colleges. We can also extend into many other colleges based on our bandwidth. That is one part of it. The second part of it, we are also encouraging the engineering students to do a, I'm sure, the institute you have, the SRM, the group of chains, at the end of 2 years, at 3 years, or the last year, they do come to any company and do internships, right? So I think various level. In the earlier days, it used to be in the final semester or a final year, but now it is starting from the second year onwards, right? So that way, even I can see, I think, as we speak, there are about 10, 15 people are doing internship in our company in various fields. It is in electrical, mechanical, or in instrumentation aspects. So we encourage them to come and be part of this thing, and we encourage them to do that. And this is also, eliminate this gap so that they can come out and understand what is data center, what is the criticality, how do you approach maybe in operations, maybe in design, maybe in construction, where there are various streams, right? So they can adopt or they can early choose. So let's say if you ask me, I'm a basically network engineer, and now I'm not sure what am I doing today, right? So that is the way we evolve with the experience. But as a student, you coming out of the college by having this kind of engagements like internships or the curriculum sharing, etc. So the gap can be very well eliminated. And of course, today is a digital world, right? Unlike when we used to study, there was no digital connected. So we used to go and take some books in the library and read. Today, I don't think anybody read. They only watch videos. My son, he's studying, he's preparing for his engineering. He doesn't study, he just watch videos, right? That's how it is. And he understands data center maybe better than me. So that is the way the new generation is coming up. So absolutely there is no... then that is a worry. So that is a worry, and that's a good part of it, right? So absolutely, it's in a good hand, and industry needs people, and it's a lot of scarcity. So that's a good part of it.
Yeah, we are SRM open for that, to open a curriculum into it, because we are stepping into this.
Yeah,
next
we can
semester.
talk a lot
Yes.
offline. So
Yes.
not an issue. So I think last in wind up. One more question. We'll take one more question. Okay, right.
Thanks for this opportunity. This is Tyagarajan from L&T. It's an open question for the guys. We all understand the cloud sits inside the data center. Predominantly where this business is going on, it's only about the co-location space of the data center, or also about the cloud like IaaS stack and other opportunities. Reason being, we all know that for the IaaS and other cloud service providers like the big three, Amazon or Microsoft, AWS, Microsoft or Google is there in the market already. So this data center, whenever companies are building data center, what is the big scope here? It's only about the co-location or the IaaS or the other cloud scopes.
Okay, so take it as simply. Data center co-location is a layer 0. All right? So it requires a physical setup for any kind of services. When you look at layer 0 is a physical infrastructure. What is physical infrastructure? First and foremost is land. Land, again, it's selected in an appropriate strategic place where various aspects like power availability, the history of that land, no floods, no chemical hazards, etc. So that is the first one. And then bringing up the shell, as rightly said by Bearys, are various requirements like 6 meter, 9 meter, 1,200, 2,000 kilograms per square meter. A lot of things are there in creating the shell. Then the electrical infrastructure, then the mechanical infrastructure, then the control systems, right? That brings up the data center co-location, which is the layer 0 as a base. So then it comes to other services. Then it comes to the compute and storage and network aspect, right? So we build either the providers like NTT or any other providers, they build the second layer, physical layer of IT. IT includes compute, network, storage, all other aspects, network, right? They build up. Then they build applications out of it. Applications, maybe cloud aspects, various other things. And the customers can choose, mostly the applications, right? So the applications play the front end, then the managed by the core IT aspects, then supported by the infrastructure, right? Everything is important. Now, when you talk about scalability, that was the subject we spoke about today. So how do you, enable, let's say, on the fly, a customer requires 5 TB storage. How do you do that? A cloud provider cannot do that. It has to have a physical infrastructure to do that, right? It has to be provided. So that is how the setup is there. That is how the environment is built. That is how the provisioning is being made to the front end. Does it answer the question or something else?
Thank you, but I think the question is more on the co-location is the one which we are focusing, because the scope for cloud is very less here in India to compete. We don't have any.
So both are
Indian
hand in hand.
so
Maybe Mahesh
so
can
that's
add.
90% is co-location. Should we take like 90% of co-location business, only 10% of cloud service business, or something like that?
No. So let me try and answer that. The thing is that we are both a cloud provider and a colo provider and a hyperscale provider and whatnot, right? So we generally wouldn't know what our end clients are hosting on their servers. It could well be a cloud. So in a way, they are competing. By being in my house, they are competing with me, right? Which is fine. I mean, that's the way the world works. So we have our niche expertise, our niche service offerings, which probably is a differentiator, I would put it that way. And we do have our set of clients. It's not that we don't sell cloud, we sell. Again, it's all about, priorities. Right now, there is such a big boom in the hyperscale. So just to give you a perspective, our managed services, which is primarily cloud and intrusion detection, et cetera, used to be 60% of our revenue at one point in time, maybe 10 years back. Slowly, it's skewed to 33%. Today, well, 15% maybe, So that's how it kind of panned out over the years. You never know. It could again ramp up in some way or the other thanks to some data localization or whatever. So this is how we look at it. frankly, we have never felt the pressure of the competition in our own premises. In fact, to some extent, we kind of collaborate with them and resell their clouds also in some way. So it's all, mutually business relations. On one hand, you may be competing, but on the other hand, you are collaborating somewhere. Yeah.
I think we can further talk offline, so the time is limited. So again, thank you very much. It's a wonderful audience. Honestly, we don't face this many questions from the audience. Typically, the audiences are a little calm. So thank you very much, and thank you W.Media for extending, I think, 5-10 minutes. And on behalf of our panel, let me extend a sincere thanks to all of you being a wonderful participant audience. And thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. So now I request Mr. Sreejith to felicitate our wonderful panelists with the mementos from Fuji Electric. Yes, please. No, please wait. I now request Mr. Syed Mohamed Beary, founder and CMD, Beary Groups and chairman, to felicitate our moderator, Mr. Sreejith ji.
He's got an excellent question, excellent time he has taken.
Completely agreed, sir. Thank you so much once again, gentlemen.